Hi there, in this video we are going to go over how to convert rational numbers. Specifically, we are going to convert between fractions and decimals. So before we get started here, you need to know what a rational number is. A rational number is any number that can be turned into a fraction. Alright, so in order to convert a fraction to decimal, so to start, you need to change to improper fraction if you need to. And then divide the numerator or the top number by the denominator or the bottom number. So in the first example here, we have 2/5. So what we're going to do in order to change this from a fraction to a decimal is we are going to divide the numerator by the denominator. There is no reason here to change to improper because we don't have a mixed number. So we are going to start off first with dividing the numerator by the denominator. So we're going to do 2 divided by 5. Right, so this is really going to be 2 divided by 5. And when you do that in your calculator, you end up with 0.4. All right, next we have 6.5. I'm just going to rewrite this here so that it looks like this, 6.5. Change it to improper, so 2 times 6 is 12, plus 1 gets you 13. So we've got here 13 over 2. And then in your calculator, you would do 13 divided by 2. And you end up with 6.5. So you could have also looked at it as, okay, well, 6 is the whole number, so I'm going to write that in as 6. Okay, and then the half, if you do 1 divided by 2 in your calculator, you would get 0.5. So either way, you would still get 6.5, whether you turn it improper or not. Me, personally, I always turn them improper because then I don't forget the whole number in the end. All right, so for the first one, we had 0.4, and for the second one, we had 6.5. All right, for number 3, we have 5. All right, well, 5 is a whole number. Any whole number can be turned into a fraction by just putting it over 1, right? And then when you divide 5 divided by 1, you just get 5. You could also just say 5.0. These are the same, right? So 5 or 5.0. And then number 4, we have -2 and 1/8. So if we turn it into an improper fraction, we would do 8 times 2 is 16 plus 1 gets us 17. So we have here -17 over 8. And then in your calculator, you would do, we can ignore the negative for now, 17 divided by 8. So remember, the top number is what you're putting in the calculator first. So we would be doing 17 divided by 8, and we get 2.125. And now we can put back in our negative. All right, so we have -2.125. Also, you could drop down the whole number of -2, right? So if you take this -2 and drop it down, and then this 1/8, you can convert it, and then you would get 0.125. So in your calculator, you could just do 1 divided by 8 and then get that 0.125. All right, now we're going to convert decimals to fractions. So the easiest way to do this is you want to read it and write it using the correct place value and then simplify. So in number 1, we have 0.42. Using place value, right? This would be the tenths, and this would be hundredths. And just as a reminder, I have all of the proper place value up here. So if you forget which is a tenths place, which is a hundredths place, etc., it's at the top there. So since this is 2 places past the decimal, so 1, 2, we're looking at this hundredths, right? So this 0.42 is really read as 42 hundredths. And now we can simplify. So I'm going to divide each of these by 2 to simplify. Right, so 42 divided by 2 is 21, and then 100 divided by 2 is 50. So my fraction here is 21/50ths. All right, for number 2, we have negative 2.1. This is one place past the decimal. So one place past the decimal would be here. That's the tenths. So we have negative 2 and 1/10. So negative 2 and 1/10. That's how you read this using proper place value. Negative 2.1 is negative 2 and 1/10. All right, number 3, we have 3.52. All right, so again, this is the tenths, and this is the hundredths. So this fraction or decimal would really be read as 3 and 52 hundredths. Okay, and then we can simplify this, right? If we divide each of these by 2, 52 divided by 2 gets us 26. And then 100 divided by 2 gets us 50. So we have 3 and 26/50ths, which actually, this can be further divided by 2 again. So I really should have divided by 4 in the beginning there. So 26 divided by 2 gets us 13. 50 divided by 2 gets us 25. And then don't forget that whole number 3. So we have here 3 and 13/25ths. All right, so in our next example, we have repeating decimals. Okay, repeating decimals are in fact rational numbers because you can turn them into decimals. In this case, when you have repeating numbers that come directly after the decimal point, we can use what's called the nines trick. So count the number of digits that repeat, and if one digit repeats, then you would put 1 9 in the denominator. If there's 2 digits that repeat, then you would put 2 9s in the denominator. All right, so when we look at number 1 here, we have 0.5 repeating. Now, there's only one digit here that repeats, and that's this 0.5, right? That's the 5 that's repeating. So, since there's only one digit that repeats, we are only going to put 1 9 in our denominator. So this 0.5 repeating is really going to be 5 9ths. And you can check that by doing that in your calculator. If you were to do 5 divided by 9 in your calculator, you would end up with 0.555, and it just repeats on and on. Okay, so again, repeating decimals are rational numbers because you can turn them into fractions by putting them over 9 or 99 or 999. All right, so if we look at number 2 here, we've got 2 digits that repeat, 7 and 1, right? The repeating bar is over 7 and over 1. So you would do 71 over 99, okay? Since there's 2 digits that repeat, you would put 2 9s in the denominator, okay? And that would just be your answer. You can't simplify those. All right, next we have 0.214 repeating. Because there are 3 digits that repeat, right? The 2, the 1, and the 4, they all have the repeating bar over it. So since there are 3 digits that repeat, we will put 3 9s in our denominator. So this would be 214 over 999. And that we cannot simplify, so I'm just going to leave it as that. All right, and now at this time, I want you to pause the video and try to fill in the chart with the equivalent fraction or decimal. And then you can check your answers with mine. Okay, so by now you should have paused the video and have tried this on your own. 3/8, you would do 3 divided by 8 in your calculator. And you would, so let me just write that down. 3 divided by 8 in your calculator, and you would get 0.375. For negative 2.3, you would just read it and write it using the proper place value. So this is literally read as negative 2 and 3/10. And then this is already simplified, so we don't have to worry about simplifying here. It's already simplified. So -2 and 3/10. All right, the next one we have 2 and 1/4. So I would suggest you turn it into improper. So 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 gets you 9. So we have here 9/4, and then you would divide 9 divided by 4, and you would get 2.25. You can also think of it like you have a whole number of 2, so you write the 2, and then you can take this 1/4 fraction and do 1 divided by 4 in your calculator in order to get this 0.25 piece of it. All right. The next one, we have -1 and 2/5. So if we turn this into an improper fraction, 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2 gets us 7. So we have here -7/5. So we would divide -7 divided by 5. So in your calculator, do 7 divided by 5, and you would get 1.4. And then you can throw in that negative, right? We don't want to forget it. Or again, you could have dropped down the whole number of -1, okay? And then you could have taken this 2/5 and done 2 divided by 5, and that would get you that 0.4. All right, so the next one we have -0.35. When you read that using proper place value, this is read as -35 hundredths. -35 hundredths. This can, in fact, be simplified because you'll notice that the top number ends in a 5, right? And the bottom number ends in a 0. So we can divide each of these by 5. And -35 divided by 5 gets us -7. 100 divided by 5 gets us 20. So we have -7/20. All right, this next one is a repeating decimal. So with any repeating decimal, you can count how many digits are repeating and then put that over 9s, or 99, 999, right? So in this case, there is only one digit that repeats, and that is 7. So we are going to put 7 over 9, and this cannot be simplified. So that's already simplified. All right, and then the last one, we have -1.2. We're going to read it using proper place value. So -1.2 is read as -1 and 2/10. And that actually simplifies, right? We can divide the numerator and the denominator by 2 here. And then we would get -1 and 1/5. All right, so hopefully you learned how to convert rational numbers, convert between decimals and fractions. Thank you for watching.